Hello guys, how you guys going? My name is Bernardo and I'm very happy to be here today because I just recovered from COVID. I got it last week at the gym. I was trying to get healthier and I got COVID. Anyways, it's part of life. Now I'm super happy to be here, even though my throat is not 100%, but I hope you guys can hear me. And also, today is gonna be the day that I'm gonna explain everything about the migration, skilled migration program from Australian government, and I will give you the links. All right, the official from the government, the official links from the government. All right, that's how I always suggest to people to use the official links. All right, and during the live, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you're watching the replay or in the YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, please leave a comment and I will be thrilled to answer your question. All right. All right. I'll oops. I'll start with my story. All right. Everything I'm gonna tell you today is based on my own experience. Yeah, because I'm not um, legal agent or migration agent or lawyer. I'm not um, a professional like this. I'm just sharing my experience with you, and I'm gonna tell you how I got my permanent residency in Australia after 11 months. All right, after 11 months, when I came here to Australia, I got the permanent residency in my hand, granted. And people always tell me that it was very fast, it was a record, how did you do it? And I'm gonna share with you exactly how I did it, and especially if you're not in Australia yet. If you're not in Australia just yet, you are in the best position to start planning your journey and executing some parts of the journey. You can even do everything. Just you don't need to be in Australia to do the whole thing, to apply for the visa, right? And the more stuff you get done beforehand, the easier will be to get your visa fast, all right? So that was my mindset when I was coming to Australia, and I'm gonna be sharing with you all the strategies, all the knowledge that I have, okay? And the very first thing is the professional list, right? There is a list of professions that Australia needs, all right? And I'm gonna just sum up a bit because Australia is a very young country and it's very huge. It's the sixth biggest countries in the world, all right? It's very big, but there's not so many people in it. Only 25 million in the whole country. That's my city in Brazil. That's my city. No, that's my biggest city in Brazil, São Paulo. São Paulo, that's 20 something million people there. So there's not enough people here. And what's the challenge? To bring people over, right? That's why the migration program it's so strong, right? Even during this COVID times with lockdowns and borders and stuff, still it's a very strong program, right? Because Australia needs people, right? From all different fields, like dancers, um, engineers like me, um, helicopter pilot, crazy stuff, right? And the thing is, first thing about this list is that it can come and go, right? Your profession can be in the list today and can be taken away from the list in the future, right? So it's a very dynamic list. Why? For example, my case, engineering. I'm a civil engineer, and there's a lot of opportunities here for civil engineers, especially civil engineer. Right, a lot of job sites, lot of construction going on, and there's not enough professionals, right? So what the government do? What does the government do? Open up for people to come, right? Engineers from overseas, right? As soon as all the jobs are fulfilled and people start to get to look for jobs, or maybe it will be hard to find an engineering job, they close down the list, right? Because they don't want to put professionals in the country and be unemployed, right? That's not the intention. So it's very dynamic, right? Like the dollar, like the price of the dollar. And if your professional if your profession is on the list, perfect time, perfect match, right? Beautiful days. Because, for example, like me, it was like that. My wife told me, Bernardo, we are going to Australia for um, for 1 year. I got a scholarship. She got a scholarship, and we are going. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna may as well start searching about Australia, right? First thing I did was if I could be an engineer, if I could work as an engineer in Australia, right? Because I didn't want to spend some time, doing an internship, and then come back to my country, and then I lost my whole year, right? So I started searching for ways to work as an engineer, and then I figured it out that Australia was in need for engineers. I was like, great, it was a perfect match for me. But what can happen is that your profession is not on the list. If your profession is not on the list, it may appear on the list in the future. We never know. But you can also change careers, right? That's always a good idea. For example, for me, I don't work as an engineer anymore. I work on YouTube. So funny when my father-in-law came to me for the first time, and he was like, Bernard, you're an engineer. What are you doing on YouTube? Just recording videos and that's gonna be your life? Very funny. But I consider this a profession, right? And pretty hard, by the way. So it's always a good idea to change careers, right? But the one thing that you gotta keep in mind is that, for example, chef, right? To work in the kitchen, doing cooking food. It's on the list, and you can study for 2 years and then 2 more years of experience. 4 years, you are pretty good to go to apply for the permanent residency, right? But the thing is, if you choose to be a chef just because it's on the list, let's say in 2 or 3 years, the government take them off the list. Now you started a career that you don't really like, and it's not in the list. You're gonna be really frustrated, right? So that's not my recommendation here. My recommendation is for you to actually choose, right? Let me just check if I'm live. Yes. Yes. Choose something you enjoy, right? You have some built-in skill to do the job and you like it. And if it's not in the list, at least you tried, right? Otherwise, it can be really frustrated to see your effort for nothing, right? To put a lot of effort for nothing. Then it leads us to the second step, which is the minimum um, points requirement for each profession. What do I mean by that? I'm not too sure if you had or will have a wedding party someday in your life. But the thing is, when you're doing a wedding party, there are some people that you may want to invite, but you can't invite them because there's a limit for for the invitations, right? There's a limit. So some people you're gonna be invited, some other will not be invited, right? And you take this decision based on your feelings, right? Based on if you like the person or not, if the person is close contact to you or not. But the government cannot do this, right? Cannot discriminate any people, right, from any country. So the government has to have precise criteria to choose whether you are a good fit to come to Australia as a permanent resident or not, right? So there are a couple of criteria that the government has in order to call you or call the other person, right? And first criteria, I'm gonna leave all the links here down below, right? Because I want you to get the best information and the most actual information possible, right? So click down below, leave your email, and I'll send you all these official websites links, right? So first big criteria is your age, right? Which cannot be changed, right? So if you are between 25 years old and 33 years old, that's the best timing for coming to Australia, right? It's not impossible to come if you're outside this age range, but it's the best when you get higher score, right? I don't know, I'm not too sure why. And there are a couple of other criteria. For example, professional experience. If you have a bachelor's degree or master's degree or doctor's degree, if you're married, if you're single. So there's a couple of, if you study in Australia, if you study overseas, there's a couple of different criteria that the government tells you if you are a good fit, or if there are too many people for them to choose from, they gotta select the higher points, right? And there is one criteria that is very important, very key for this whole success, right? Which is the English test, the International English Test, or proficiency English test, right? Which, by the way, you can do lots of different ones, right? But the main ones are IELTS, PTE, and TOEFL, right? And I'm not gonna talk about really in depth about them, but just keep in mind that your English skill can boost your score, right? In a very short period of time, especially if you do the PTE. Because the main difference, just to be quick, the main difference between PTE and IELTS is that there is the IELTS test is corrected by a person, right? There is an examiner who reads your text or listen to your speaking part and then gives you the mark, right? On the PTE, the software runs your answer and gives you the score, right? That's the main difference for now. And it's more likely for you guys to get higher marks on PTE than IELTS. That's my experience, and I got like hundreds of students who has done the same. Always, if you know what you're doing on a PTE, you always get higher marks than the IELTS, right? And the higher your marks on the English test, the better chance, the more points you have for the skilled migration program, right? For example, if you and me are engineers, we have the same degree and same amount of experience, same 6 years of experience, let's say. If my mark on the English test is higher than yours, I'm going to be invited before you. That's a criteria of the government. The better English, the more chance you have to be invited, right? What else? What else? So that's the thing, right? For you guys to compare. If you work full-time in your field here in Australia, you get 5 points. 1 year. 1 year working full-time, you get 5 points, right? And PTE can give you 20 points. And I spent 5 months studying PTE, trying and error, right? Discovering the method, creating my own method, because there was no one to teach me. Here it is, the step-by-step for you to do the test. I spent five months. Now my students are spending 5 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 weekend, and they are getting the marks. So it's pretty fast and can boost your application for the skilled visa, all right? And that gives you speed, very high speed for you to get your permanent residency, or PR as they say here in Australia, right? So just to sum up what we've done so far. First, you got to look at the professional list, right? To see if your profession is on the list of high demand in Australia, right? Basically knowing if Australia needs your professional or not, right? Second one is for you to know how to get more points, the points test, right? Based on your age, your degree, your experience, work experience, and your English skills, as we just discussed now, right? Third step will be to have a look on the invitation round, which means if you're an engineer like me, how many points did the last engineer who was invited had, right? For example, that means the minimum points that you may have in order to get the PR, right? In order to be invited for the PR. So let's say it's the minimum score is 70 points, right? On the application, right? And then you gotta figure it out which strategy you're gonna pursue in order to get 70 or higher, right? The higher the better, right? Based on your age, your professional experience, if you're single or if you're married, there will be this test point for you to know if you have chance to be invited quick, or if you have to study a master degree to boost your score, or study here in Australia, or have a work experience here in Australia, or boost your PTE score, right? Because talking about the PTE score, I didn't mention one thing. The minimum score that you gotta have to apply, to actually be able to apply for the visa, to be able to be invited, is 50 points in each of the 4 bands, right? Which means IELTS 6, right? But the higher your score, the more points you get, right? And the next point score is 65 on PTE or 7 on IELTS, right? You get 10 extra points for your application. And if you get 79 on PTE, which means 8 on IELTS, you get extra 10 or extra 20, right? So that's the secret to boost your application for the PR, right? in a very short period of time, it is possible to get higher marks on PTE. Of course, it's a marathon, but if you are willing to take IELTS and you need the mark 8, I've never met anyone who got higher than 8 in every single one of the 4 bands, right? All right, we covered a lot. Let's see how long do I have. All right, still time. And then the fourth step will be for you to actually apply your expression of interest. That's what they call, meaning that you've done all your homework and now you just have to wait for the government to pick you up, to invite you, right? And for my friends, for my engineering friends, for my engineers friends, I'll leave another link down below, which is the Engineers Australia booklet, which will have to, it will guide you to accredit your diploma and your work experience, right? Because in order to get those points, right, based on a bachelor degree or master degree and your working experience, you got to prove it, right? So every single professional has its own accreditation agency, let's say this way, right? And for engineers, it's called Engineers Australia. For nurses or teachers or dancers, they will have their own department that they have to apply for, right? Which I don't know, but it will be on the list. As soon as you look at your professional in the list, there will be the name of the agency that you have to apply for accreditation your diploma. All right, what else? So especially for engineers and architects, I'm very sure, I'm sure that you're gonna need to take the English test to accredit your diploma, right? So the very first thing you need to do is your English test to get the minimum score, at least 50 in every of the 4 bands in PTE, which means 6 on IELTS. And then you can apply for Engineers Australia to validate your diploma and your working experience, right? That's the minimum, right? Without this score, you cannot apply, not even start applying to accredit your diploma, right? So the final message here is that you got to start with the English test, right? That's the very first step, because it can take a little longer than you expect, right? Because these tests are very tricky, especially if you don't know exactly how to do the test. It can be quite tricky, and that's what I've done, right? It's been 4 years since I live here in Australia, and always that I meet someone new, they always say, "Oh, you got the permanent residency so fast. How did you do that?" Exactly what I'm telling you now. First, even before coming to Australia, I was searching for these 4 steps that I just shared with you. And I started just for you guys to have a feeling of the sense of urgency that I always had. My wife told me that she got a scholarship in March 2017. She told me, "Bernardo, I got a scholarship for 1 year to study in Sydney." And I told her, "All right, you can reply yes, and you're going, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with my career." And she goes, you don't understand. I'm only going to Sydney if we are in the same airplane, almost in the same seat inside the airplane. I was like, now I got your message. It was a little heavier than I thought. And that was March 2017, right? And then I started searching these exactly steps that I just shared with you guys, and I figured it out. First thing I need to do is the English test to see how I'm going. If I have to boost my English or improve some skill, I better start now. In July 2017, same year, I did my very first English test, right? In July. So that was April, May, June, July. 4 months I was doing the English test, right? And that's how I I got here in February 2018, and in January 2019 I got the permanent residency right in my hand. I was about to share the screen here with you for you guys to see my English tests and my invitation. But with this kind of setup that I just did, it's not gonna happen. But I'm gonna show you in the next few videos. All right. Please leave a comment here down below this video if you enjoy it, and let me know if you have any questions about it. I'm glad to respond them. Okay. So final message. Final message. Final message. As I just mentioned for you guys to start with the English test, don't leave it to the last minute. All right. Because first thing, why? First thing, if you leave it to the last minute, you may not be able to book an exactly date that you want, time and date that you want, right? I've done this. Everybody had procrastinated before, right? But one thing that I tell you is that none of my students who leave it to the last minute told me, yeah, I left to the last minute, but you know what? It's all right. Don't do it in advance. Leave it to the last minute. Everything will be fine. No one says that. All right. Everybody who left for the last minute told me, but Bernardo, I was freaking out. I was, having anxiety, sleeping very badly, and that's not the life that we want, right? So don't live for the last minute, because you might not be able to book at the exact time and date that you want. Plus, I was about to tell you another thing. If you are planning to come to Australia, keep in mind that as soon as you get to Australia, probably the very first thing you want to do is start working because everything here, it's super expensive. The cost of living here, especially in Sydney, there are cheap things, but the rent is very expensive, so you're gonna be running to find work, right? Plus, when you are off, when you're not working, you want to enjoy the city, right? It's a beautiful city, so many beautiful places to go, so we're not going to have that much time that we think we will have, right? So don't leave it to the last minute. If you're not in Australia just yet, you are in the best position to start working on your documentation and be able to get the permanent residency faster than anybody else that leaves to the last minute. And one more thing, I've studied PTE for a long time. I did it 7 times when I was applying for my visa, and I interact with many people who has done the PTE lots of times, and they always tell me that it was worth it, because now I'm free, right? I spend a lot of time and money doing these documents and English tests and stuff, and now I'm free forever. I can live in Australia for as long as I want. I can even sponsor my parents. I can do. I will apply for the citizenship really soon, and I'm gonna be able to travel to countries that I wasn't able before with my original passport. So the advantage, it's so uh, there's so much advantage that every single effort that you put in the English test, on in the documentation for the PR, it's gonna be worth it. All right, that's my final message. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I see you on my next one.